went to a college, was at a college and stated that she couldn't afford that and go to college because it cost $3,000 a year for birth control. And an AP reporter goes less than a mile from her house to a Walmart and buys birth control for $9 a month. Finds out you can buy it $9 a month, $108 a year. But they disregarded that and still made her a left-wing heroine. So, in Planned Parenthood, we can say whatever we want about it, and we want to cut the budget, and we argue with them for the wrong reasons. We should argue, simply, they ain't doing the job. They're really bad at what they do. They're not helping the women they're supposed to be helping. I'm going to move on to what I call the current events section of the speech. Now, Arthur asked me to talk about Trump and the issue of Israel. I don't profess to be an expert on that because I know people who are really experts on it. But I can tell you there's not one person in this country, maybe one person walking the face of the earth, who's more committed to the support of Israel than Bruce Bialosky is. And I consider the support of Israel not to be a Jewish value. It's an American value. If you don't support Israel, you don't understand America. It's clear and simple. That's it. Plain fact. I find it fascinating that the Jews, and I can speak about this because I am, and I've had to deal with this for a long time because I started a Republican Jewish coalition in California. I'm probably the most recognizable Jewish Republican certainly in Southern California, other than Dennis Prager is. That I find it fascinating how the Jews have attacked our current president. This is a gentleman, first of all, they charge him with being anti-Semitic. Give me a break. Okay, really? How do you raise 5 kids, 3 have gotten married and they married Jews, and you're an anti-Semite? Yeah. How do you treat somebody an anti-Semite when their grandchildren are Jewish? I don't get it. He lived in New York City. What person did he ever do with in business? He dealt with who in business? He dealt with 2 principal operations: Jews and the mafia. Right? That's what he did in construction. Jews and the mafia. Do you ever see anybody run out from anybody you ever worked with in New York and say, oh yeah, I had a horrible experience with Trump. He called me bad names because I was Jewish. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. On top of it, I had lunch yesterday with the new head in Los Angeles of the American Jewish Committee, who happens to be a Republican. A great guy. Wonderful person. Not a Trump lover. I said to him, if this president does nothing else, then what has gone on in the United Nations and what Nikki Haley has done in the United Nations to defend Israel against the anti-Semitism that is rampant in that organization, and to say you're not going to do it anymore, we're not going to give you money, we're not going to put up with it, we're not going to let your Human Rights Commission sit there and spew out anti-Israel rhetoric on and on and on. If he does nothing other than that, he will be a great president. But our deranged fellow citizens who don't agree with Trump, I to say, oh, it's because of Nikki Haley. Give me a break. Come on.
Right.
She works for him. You don't think he would have a problem? The UN ambassador, he appointed her. They had a discussion. What are you going to do? Go out and protect Israel at that ridiculously abysmal organization. She's doing a great job of what she's doing, but it's with full, complete support of our president. So, it comes to Passover. For some reason, I don't know why, the Jews who are running the White House, Donald Trump and his family, don't have a regular Passover dinner. And you read the Jewish press, and they show you a picture of the president, the last president, at the Passover dinner last year. As if that makes him some kind of good supporter of the Jewish people. Yeah. This guy was treated the Israelis in an abysmal manner. The left was unwilling to state that publicly, and largely because actually, they'll deny it, and nice people in nice situations in public, the support of Israel's on the Republican side. It's on the right. The problems with Israel is on the left. And if you're not a supporter of Israel, I have my opinion. Either if you don't support Israel, don't tell me it's anything other than being anti-Semitic. The greatest mind of the 20th century on the conservative side, William F. Buckley, took an entire issue of his magazine, National Review, and when I say he's the greatest mind, if you ever just pick up the book that his son, Chris Buckley, wrote about, called Mum and Pup. That's what he called his parents. Old line, East Coast stuff. And he talked about, near the end, he would take his father, he would take the dictation from his father for his columns. Now, I write a column. I've been writing a weekly column for 9 years now. Some come very well, some are very painful. All of them are edited and re-edited and re-edited. And Chris Buckley stated in that book that his father would dictate to him a 700-word column in perfect English, in perfect dictation, perfect punctuation. I don't get it. This guy's, I'm thinking, I do the same thing he does. He's like here, I'm here. This guy was brilliant. He took the entirety of his magazine in 1992, writing about Patrick Buchanan. And he wrote this treatise, which basically said, in summary, my summary of it is that no one can be possibly that focused on the issue of Israel like Pat Buchanan is without being anti-Semitic. And so the same thing happened with the UN and all their ridiculous proposals. The same with the left and their support of the Palestinians. You can't possibly be American. You can't possibly understand American values in the same regard without being a supporter of Israel. Is that a strong enough statement, Arthur?
Yeah, I like it. I'm glad someone has the courage to say it. I know we had discussed before, do you want to take questions now?
Do I want to take questions now?
From the audience?
No.
You want to keep going? Okay.
Keep talking.
Okay.
Schools. Wow. We pay a lot of money. It's just fascinating. I did it. I paid a lot of money to send my kids to colleges. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? These people are poisoning our children.
I can take it back then.
Poisoning the youth of our country with their ridiculous ideas. Thank God, my good friend Alan Estrin, you may not know that name. He's Dennis Prager's producer, who actually is the person behind PragerU, put out these 5-minute videos, mainly directed. They put out a great one today. If you haven't seen it, go see it. You say you're not really supporting of capitalism. Let me tell you, and he's got a young person telling him you do support capitalism because everything you do is, Facebook, Uber, your telephone, everything is support of capitalism. You support it completely. So they never even mentions these people who keep on saying, oh, socialism is a good idea. It's ridiculous. Socialism is a failed concept. Failed multiple times.
Turned it off. Never mind.
Inhuman, and will never succeed. So, but here's the interesting thing. Now, I'm going to give you a little positive thought here. We argue about how horrible the press is. We argue about how horrible our school systems are. What has been the results for these people? I think their results are pretty bad. We live in a Republican country. We have a Republican Supreme Court. We have a Republican president. We have a Republican Congress. We have 31 governorships. We have control of 26 legislatures, if I remember correctly, both houses. This is a Republican country. I think they're doing a pretty crappy job of pitching their ideas.
Yeah.
I think they're failing, but that doesn't mean we should relax. That doesn't mean we shouldn't argue our points in a civil manner. That's what we do in a civil manner. Paris withdrawal. I'll take your questions when I'm done. Paris withdrawal. Now, this was another thing that they whipped up, the sentiment that helped to cause that nutcase to shoot these people yesterday morning. Armageddon is coming. People are going to die. Let me explain to you what the Paris Agreement was. Okay. You people over here, you're one group of people. You can be with them too. You are the rest of the people. Now, I'm going to tell you that what happens to you is we're going to all make an agreement here. And out of that, there's going to be a fund which is going to completely redo your backyards. You're all getting new backyards. You don't have to pay anything for your new backyard. You get it for free. All you have to do is say that you agree that at some point you might help these other people with what they think is good. That's what the Paris Agreement really was about. That's why they said there was 195 countries who agreed to this. Have you ever looked at the list of 195 countries in the United States? I have, and I did recently, because we've traveled now, we keep track of it, to about 70 countries. About 40 or 50 of them are island nations. And there's a lot of small countries. There was about 20 countries who committed to a fund, which we were committed to by our president. Did the Congress commit us to it? No. It was never approved. This is never an approved agreement. He didn't withdraw us from Paris because we were never in Paris. We were never agreed to Paris. Barack Obama agreed to Paris. The United States of America never agreed to Paris. But the reason these people wanted to be in this, the rest of the countries, is these 20 people over here came and said, we're going to give you a boatload of money for something that we think is right and you think you should be doing, and we're never going to monitor what you do with that money. So you're going to come and you're Belize. What should I do? Oh, sure, I'll agree to that agreement. That's great. 130, 140 of those countries signed on because they're getting free handouts.
Right.
Now, interesting what came out of this, that is really, I don't know, and I'm going to ask you, how many of you know President Obama as part of the Paris Agreement transferred $1 billion of our money to the fund?
I know it. I know. Yes.
Okay, so this is a group of smart people. You're involved. You're all smart, right? You're involved people. You didn't know that the President of the United States, I didn't know until 2 weeks ago when this whole thing blew up, that he had taken $1 billion of our money and transferred it to this fund on an agreement that we never agreed to.
Wow.
That only Barack Obama and his acolytes agreed to. How did that happen? Where did he get the money from? Where did the money, what account did it come from? It's not questioned by the press. It's not questioned by anybody. I was stunned to read that. But now, if nothing else happened, when President Trump said, we're not going to go along with this thing, is he saved us from spending another $2 billion on this ridiculous fund. If nothing else happens, he did that. Manchester. Now, I'm not really going to comment on all these continuing situations where we have terrorists, people who are, I'm going to make two comments. One, I'm not going to comment on the overall scene, I'm going to make two comments. One, first of all, there is no such thing as a self-radicalized individual. Okay? Let me tell you about a self-radicalized individual. I can name one. His name is Albert Einstein. He was self-radicalized. He came up with 6 theories in 1906. I think it was 1906. Maybe part of it was 1907. I don't know. I read the biography a while ago. And that changed the world. People don't have original thoughts like that. There aren't too many. You may think, oh, I have an original thought. There aren't that many. Most of these people aren't self-radicalized. They sit in a room and read on the newspaper, or they talk to somebody else, not a newspaper, on the internet. They read stuff that encourages them to do what they do. So the idea, whenever anybody says, or a news person says, he was self-radicalized, no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He saw a YouTube video of an Amman who said some ridiculous things that are anti-American, anti-civilized individuals, and that's how he got to the point. And then he was reinforced by somebody else. The second thing is, Manchester, I thought, was particularly fascinating because we had this guy, Salman Abedi, I think that was his name. Okay, Abedi, had gone to Libya and come back and then did this thing. Now, why was that allowed to happen? That is ridiculous. Now, you can say that I am Monday morning quarterbacking on this issue. You can't say that. Because if you did say that, you haven't read my articles. Because right after Trump announced what is called the travel ban, I wrote a column never talking about the travel ban, talking about 2 issues. One of those issues is, the 2 issues were this. One, the 6 countries. One was immediately taken out. There were 7, then 6. The 6 countries, they're all failed states. Yeah. They're all disasters. What's the question? And then, thus, what's the question? If somebody goes to one of those failed states, and I picked on my beloved brother, if my brother went to that failed state, I would sit him down in this chair right here. I would ask him who he saw, what he did, what he ate, what he did every minute. I'd want him interrogated totally. This guy comes back from Libya. What are you thinking? Who in their right mind would go to Libya today? Or Yemen? Or Somalia? you got to wonder what these people are thinking that they would go there. So you got to understand. Well, obviously, it's what they're thinking.
We got about 2 more
They're
minutes.
nuts. They're out of their minds, and there's got to be something bad here. And the chances are this much that it's not bad. So I would have them interrogated for hours if they went to a place like that, Iraq, Afghanistan. What are you, nuts? I mean, I feel bad for this kid, and we all do. Who we just got back from North Korea? Who doesn't feel bad for this kid? Raise your hand. Who doesn't feel bad for this kid? Okay, you kind of feel like he's a putz, though. What are you thinking going to North Korea? Why would you go there? I've been to South Korea, a great country. Go to South Korea. It's a great ally of ours. They're wonderful people. It's a great place to visit. I went to DMZ. I ain't going across. What was this person thinking? In the same regard, you know, why did the British not put this guy in a room and interrogate the crap out of him, or just lock him up? What are you doing in Libya? You got to be doing something bad.
Right.
I don't get it. I don't know what they're thinking. The investigation. We could go on for hours on the investigation. I'm only going to hit a couple points. First of all, if the president did this, and I actually kind of believe he did this. I believe he did this. He went to Comey. Comey was in the office. He said to him, look, I just fired this guy. He's a great American. You know he's a great American. Comey said he's a great guy. Not only is he a great guy, but he's a great American. He's suffering publicly. Can you see it in your mind to let it go? He's suffered. It's bad. I've done this. I wrote a column after the election, said Trump should cancel any investigations into Hillary. Forget it. Move on. Move this country forward. What we need to do is A, B, C, D, and E. And if we're thinking about Hillary, we're not doing that. It wasn't even an act of compassion. It was just a point. I thought this was an act of compassion. And like we say in my household, the party of tolerance is intolerant. The party of compassion doesn't have much compassion when it comes to Mike Flynn. Now, it might simply because their hatred for Trump that they want to make this into a big deal, but think about it. What compassionate person would say, hey, let it go. The guy's been embarrassed. The guy got fired. The guy's been humiliated. Let it go. And that's what Trump was saying. And I don't believe the Democrats, this is a perfect example of why they don't have compassion, despite the fact that they talk about being compassionate individuals.
So, Bruce, we got to wrap it up.
Now, how many of you saw the comments by Rogers and Coates? I just want to remind you the comment by Rogers. I have never been directed to anything I believe to be illegal, unethical, immoral, or inappropriate. He didn't say, I was not directed to do anything illegal, which is what a government does. He said illegal, unethical, immoral, or inappropriate. Covers the whole gambit. But they want to follow with obstruction of justice. The non-compassionate individuals at the Washington Post yesterday announced this despite the fact that we had a shooting of members of Congress in this situation. They didn't care. They were more concerned about and they announced that on the same day.
So, Bruce, we really got to wrap it up. Why don't you just tell everybody your website, how they can contact you, and then
I don't have a website. Okay.
Or an email or something.
Let me tell you, I'm actually at a wrap-up point. Except I want to comment on one thing. The Comey interviews. The Comey interview. It was the Loretta Lynch comment. To let that go is just astonishing.
Yes.
Loretta Lynch told him to put to rest the investigation and to call it what it wasn't on a political matter that needs to be investigated. We as a group, moving forward, need to focus on a few issues. My issue in the state of California is we need to do what we can to stop whoever being elected governor who would sign a single payer bill that would be presented on their desk. That particularly means Gavin Newsom. I don't know if John Chang or a Tony Villaraigosa will just tell us they're not going to sign it. But my position, I have told the people, Gavin Newsom's people, your guy gets elected, he signs that bill, he doesn't have to worry about the Republicans anymore because we're all going to be moved out of the state.
Right.
So we have an obligation as Republicans to move forward positively, aggressively with what we need, what we're doing. We cannot let them win. We cannot just lie down. If we, Jonah Goldberg had a column yesterday that said, or today, no, yesterday, said, if we lose the House, Trump will be impeached. It is our efforts in the streets, our effort with our pocketbooks to make sure that that doesn't happen. The work of